We begin tonight on Eyewitness News at 6 with the debate over tolls.
Whether it's tolls or rainy day fund or trucks only, whatever it is, people are not going to be happy. That's what she said. There are plenty of plans on the table. The newest, tolls on trucks only.
Our chief Capitol reporter Susan RAFF traveled to Rhode Island today for a special report on their trucks only plan. Susan?
Dennis, while many agree that Connecticut's roads definitely need major improvement, there's a lot of disagreement on how to pay for it. Rhode Island came up with a plan of their own that's generating revenue and a lawsuit. We hear all the time how bad Connecticut roads and bridges are, and the state is one of the worst. But Rhode Island has us beat.
We had a higher percentage of structurally deficient bridges than any other state in the country.
Rhode Island's Director for Transportation says both states have something else in common. Money that was supposed to be spent on transportation went to other things. Rhode Island's solution? Put tolls on trucks because they cause the most damage. The debate over tolls here in Rhode Island state capitol took about a year before legislation was actually passed. And supporters knew that to get people on board, they had to have other sources of funding in addition to tolls, and to show people what was actually being fixed. Rhode Island has a 10-year plan in place to tackle its transportation issues. The state will spend a total of $5 billion. Of that, the state's 12 tolls for trucks only will bring in an estimated $45 million a year, 10% of the total budget. But tolls didn't go over well. Rhode Island is now being sued by the trucking industry. They feel they're being targeted.
Government now has figured out that cars can be an ATM machine for all of their spending.
And Pat Morgan was a loud voice against tolls. She was the Republican minority leader in Rhode Island's House.
My colleagues on the other side of the aisle would say, well, you know, okay, you know, it's 25 cents here, it's 10 cents there. No, it's $45 million.
It requires funds to rebuild infrastructure, and it takes sometimes a little political courage to do that.
Governor Gina Raimondo says it was hard to pass tolls in Rhode Island, even on just trucks. And in Connecticut, the battle is even more challenging. Governor Lamont's transportation plan is also 10 years. The cost, $21 billion. Connecticut is also 3 times the size of Rhode Island. The plan calls for 14 tolls, raising $300 million a year, and includes trucks and cars.
It's consistent, reliable, where they can maximize federal funding. So I hope we're going to learn from that example.
Having tolls will also make it possible for Connecticut to borrow federal money at a very low interest rate of 2%.
I'm not in favor of it, only for the simple fact that as a business, I think that we pay enough money to have the work done.
Trucks do pay higher gas and registration fees. Mike DeGrand owns a family trucking business in West Haven. His trucks pay tolls all over the Northeast. Adding Connecticut tolls could jack up prices for his customers. One very big difference, however, between these two states, tolls in Rhode Island are up for good. When repairs are done, money can be used for other transportation projects. But if approved, Governor Lamont says tolls in Connecticut will be temporary.
If you're taking on 30 years of debt, would you ever get rid of those gantries? Or if you start new projects, I think people would be naive to assume that those would be temporary tolls. Yeah.
That is where all the mistrust comes from. In the past, money that was supposed to go to transportation didn't make it there, and now Connecticut taxpayers are very concerned because if these tolls are up temporarily, it's there for the project duration and also debt, and it could be 30 years or more.
Interesting. It is. All right. Thank you, Susan. I know you'll keep watching this for us.
That's right. There's supposed to be a meeting today with the governor and legislative leaders, but now that's on hold. And it's doubtful anything will happen before the holiday season.
We'll be talking about it on Face the State this Sunday as well. Susan, thank you very much.